are back up at the starting line, awaiting the next start. As Alan said, the next heat of the Women's Collegiate Varsity Cal Cup, heat number 2. Our referees are doing a tremendous job getting all of our races off on time. All these crews are now 7 boats across, setting ready for the next race. In lane number 1, we have the University of San Diego. Lane number 2, Stanford University Lightweights. Lane number 3, Drexel. Lane number 4, San Diego State University. Lane number 5, SMU. Lane 6, the Gauchos, University of California, Santa Barbara. And lane 7, new to San Diego Crew Classic, is Central, Oklahoma.
No, tell them to pull back the foot.
We are still in our final alignment for the next heat of the Women's Cal Cup. 7 boats across. Slight cross breeze off the starboard bow. Picked up to about 2 knots at this point. Just enough to lift the flags off the markers. Still idyllic conditions to row.
4, 5, and 6.
But what this crosswind will do is we'll see more hands popping up from the bow seats. That will indicate to the aligner and to the starter that they do not have their point down the course. The starter is looking for those hands to pop up. Once all the hands are down, that indicates that they are ready to go, and the starter will commence. If this goes on for too long of time, the starter has an option of going to what we call a countdown start. Countdown start is executed very simply by starting at the count of 5, going down to 1. During that time period, it will be the crew's responsibility to obtain their point. At the conclusion of the count, then they'll raise the red flag and say go.
2. Push it out. 2 hold.
Okay, ladies, keep sculling to keep your point as we go through the alignment.
The aligner
out 1 inch. 3
is trying to do her best
inches.
to get all these crews lined up with 7 boats across. The starter has given instructions to the crews once again to maintain their point. If a crew falls off their point, all the boats are being held by the stern, the back end. If a crew falls off the point, then it takes them out of alignment as well.
University
Aligners
of San Diego
have done their job.
Stanford
they are all
Lightweights.
aligned. The
Drexel,
flag is up. The
San
starter
Diego
is pulling the crews.
SMU, UC Santa Barbara.
We are moments from the start.
Central Oklahoma. Attention!
Red flag is up.
Go!
And we have a start to the second heat of the Women's Collegiate Varsity Cal Cup. All boats off the line. And your early leaders inside, University of San Diego and Stanford Lightweights. As we approach the 100-meter breakage point, all boats are across. And we still have Stanford, followed by San Diego, and then Drexel, San Diego State, SMU still holding tight with the University of California, Santa Barbara, Central Oklahoma. Currently, as we come across the 300-meter mark, your leader is the Stanford Lightweights, stroking at 36 strokes per minute, followed inside by University of San Diego. And then we have Drexel and SMU. That's the call from the 400-meter mark. I'll turn it over to the finish line.
Once again, checking our lane assignments for this, the second heat run for the Women's Collegiate Varsity Cal Cup. This is the SeaWorld Cup, and in lane number 1, University of San Diego, off on an early lead, now has faded slightly to second spot. In lane number 2, our current leader, Stanford University, their lightweight crew in lane 3, also in third position, Drexel University. Then San Diego State University in lane number 4. They are trailing in lane number 5. Southern Methodist University out of Dallas, Texas. Then comes UC Santa Barbara in lane number 6. And a newcomer to our San Diego Crew Classic, the University of Central Oklahoma, Oklahoma City.
Yes, Alan, the University of Central Oklahoma not only new to the Crew Classic, but a very new rowing program as well. They're added to the NCAA Division II ranks within the last couple of years. University of Central Oklahoma have been to Florida and raced this season. They've lost to their Division II rivals Barry, Nova Southeastern and Florida Tech. University of California, Santa Barbara, they've beaten Long Beach State and UC San Diego. Southern Methodist University, they've beaten Creighton but lost to Canvas, Oklahoma, and the University of San Diego. San Diego State, who won this event a few years ago, they've beaten UC San Diego but lost to UCLA and the University of San Diego this season. Drexel from Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia in lane 3, they've beaten Delaware, LaSalle, Villanova, who are in the Jessup Whittier Cup at this event, and Lehigh, but they've lost to St. Joseph's, who are also in this event in the next heat. Stanford University lightweights are an unknown quantity in lane number 2, but they're obviously very fast. And the University of San Diego, unbeaten so far this season. They've beaten Creighton, Kansas, Southern Methodist, Tulsa, San Diego State, and UC San Diego.
As they come through with 1,000 meters to go, continuing on the lead along the shoreline, the University of San Diego. Their outside shoulder is San Diego State. Check that as Stanford University. Stanford University in second position. Then we go outside to San Diego State, was battling for a position there, but right at about 750 meters into our race, they took a radical course correction, went to the outside buoys of their lane and had to adjust back in, and that of course cost them valuable time. University of San Diego on the shoreline. Looks like San Diego State has recovered somewhat and is challenging Stanford University in lane number 2. Drexel in lane number 3 will not go away. Then we go to the outside to SMU, all the way to the outside to the newcomer Central Oklahoma, and then UC Santa Barbara.
Yes, Alan, as they come down into the third 500, the third 500 is essentially where these races are won and lost. It really looks like in lane number 1, the University of San Diego are maintaining their control over this race. It looks as though the race is going to be on for that second spot in the grand final. And that could be any one of Stanford lightweights who appear to have the nod at the moment. And Drexel in lane 3, but they're being challenged by San Diego State in lane 4. I would say at this point, Southern Methodist, UC Santa Barbara, and Central Oklahoma are going to have a lot to do to get into the grand final.
San Diego State, as we mentioned before, had a problem at around 500 to 750 meters into this race. They've righted themselves and are back in the hunt somewhat, but it is still the University of San Diego along the shoreline continuing to be in a relatively comfortable lead. They are being challenged in lane number 3, check that, in lane number 2 by Stanford and 3 by Drexel, and then go outside to San Diego State, having gotten back and corrected somewhat. Then farther outside it is SMU to the farthest outside lane, Central Oklahoma, and UC Santa Barbara. Along the shoreline, University of San Diego.
At 35 strokes per minute, Alan, I've just been informed. So they've taken out just a little bit. They obviously don't want to get complacent here. They want to finish this race out well, but comfortably.
As they come into a clearer view along our shoreline towards the finish line, it is University of San Diego along the shoreline. They get off to a good start, fight it out with Stanford lightweights in the early going. Actually, the two shifting back and forth. University of San Diego, but we have quite a bug tussle beginning to form up for that second position. Stanford University being challenged on the outside by Drexel, and then farther outside by San Diego State, having lost a lot of ground when they had to make a course correction. So we're going to watch lanes 2, 3, and 4, Stanford, Drexel, and San Diego State for a fight for that second position. On the lead is University of San Diego. Then comes Stanford. Stanford being challenged by Drexel. And then farther outside, San Diego State beginning to fall back a little bit. SMU with open water back to Central Oklahoma and UC Santa Barbara. This is the University of San Diego with open water back to Stanford. Stanford having fought off a challenge with about 500 meters to go from Drexel University, apparently will be finishing in that third position unless something radical happens. And then to the far outside, it is San Diego State University very gravely injured on this race course because they had to make that correction, and it was kind of a radical one to the outside buoy of their lane and then having to drop all the way to the inside buoy of their lanes. This is unofficially University of San Diego with the win, followed by Stanford University. Moving on to the petite final, apparently will be Drexel University in lane number 3, and then San Diego State University. Quite a bit of open water back to a game crew from Dallas, Texas, SMU. Then to the far outside, our new crew in town, the Central Oklahoma crew, and then the University of California, Santa Barbara. That is the second of our 3 heats. Coming up next will be the third run down the line for the SeaWorld Cup in the preliminary runs here. And preliminarily, we have St. Joseph's in lane 1, Oklahoma in lane 2, Trinity in lane 3. Coming out of lane number 4 will be St. Mary's. Orange Coast College will command lane number 5. Santa Clara in 6, and Arizona State University out in 7. We'll have a start shortly.
Well, we're back to the start line of the third and final
Ladies,
heat of the
you are
Women's
aligned.
Collegiate Varsity
St.
Cal
Joseph,
Cup.
Oklahoma.
Our
Trinity,
announcing boat up here at the start line is
St.
having a little bit of a
Mary's,
problem, so it's difficult for
Orange
us to
Coast
stay
College,
all the way to the 500
Santa
meter
Clara,
mark. We'll do the best we can and
Arizona
report
State.
to you.
Attention,
The flag is up in the starter,
go!
and we do have a start in the third and final heat of the Women's Collegiate Varsity Cal Cup, known as the SeaWorld Cup. Picking the crews up at the 100 meter mark. We look inside to Oklahoma. Has pushed out the half a deck lead over Trinity and Orange Coast and St. Joseph's. St. Mary is about half a deck back. Then we look to Santa Clara and ASU.